Good morning and good evening and happy St. Patrick's Day. My name is Sandeep and I will be the moderator for today's webinar. On behalf of our speakers and Henry Stewart, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to our audience. A sincere thank you to all who have taken the time out to attend today's session. I would now like to introduce our distinguished speakers for today. Our first speaker is Anjali Yakkundi, Senior Analyst at Forrester, serving application delivery and development professionals. In today's webinar, Anjali will present key findings from DAM 2020, a custom study conducted by Forrester on behalf of Cognizant assetSERV. Our next speaker is Jitin Agarwal, Venture Leader for assetSERV. Jit brings with him 20 plus years of product and program management experience and a successful track record as a serial entrepreneur. As the venture leader, Jit's role includes evangelizing assetSERV both within and outside Cognizant, developing sales channels, alliances, and the partner ecosystem. I request the audience to make this an interactive session by sharing your questions in the chat window. At the end of the presentation, we will share the details on how you can download a copy of the DAM 2020 custom research paper. With that, I would like to hand it over to you, Anjali.
Great. Thank you so much for the nice introduction, Sandeep. It's great to be here, and I think, digital asset management, we spend a lot of time talking about our challenges today, how we're going to go about solving those, or maybe sourcing a new solution. So today we want to take a little bit more of a forward-thinking vision of what we need to do now in order to prepare for the upcoming changes in the market, really what we need to see for DAM in 2020. And it's an interesting time in the market because a lot of companies that we talk to today at Forrester have really invested in much more rich, interactive experiences. And really, content is at the center of these experiences. And you can see these experiences like the one we see here with lots of interactive, cross-channel experiences that require a lot of rich media content. And at Forrester, we've seen this rise in interest in how can companies create more content-driven, rich, and interactive experiences. And it's not just that we're creating more of this content, but we're really investing in this content. So when we ask marketers, Forrester customers who are marketers, over the next few years, what do they see as their investment into content? And what we saw is that 89% of marketers that we surveyed expected their content marketing budgets to either stay the same or increase. What we saw is very few organizations are decreasing their investment into that rich, interactive, customer-facing content. So this is really, in 2020, what we need to prepare for. More and more organizations are investing in content. And really, when it comes to DAM, because we're all here to talk about DAM, DAM is a critical technology that helps support this content. So when we think about digital asset management, I know a lot of people use digital asset management in many different ways. The way Forrester defines it is that digital asset management is software that enables the production, management, distribution, and retention of these rich media assets. These rich media assets like images, audio, branded content, logos, videos, these are some of the most interactive pieces of content that your organization is going to produce. This type of content is the content that's going to drive more of that content-driven, interactive, rich, customer-facing experiences that we're all investing in, that we saw that those 89% of marketers are investing in. So really, in order to further investigate how DAM is going to change because of this rise in content and this investment into content marketing and customer-facing content, the Cognizant assetSERV team commissioned Forrester to do a survey. And this survey was really to talk about what's the state of the market today and what do firms across across North America, what do they think they need eventually from DAM? And so when we think about this survey, we surveyed 150 both IT and business decision makers who had some sort of decision making over digital asset management. So of these 150 survey respondees, We focused the responses, and you'll see the results of this study. They're all focused on North America, so mostly United States, and then about 20% from Canada as well. They were all enterprise customers as well. So revenues were at least 100 million, but as you can see, the majority, well over 65%, 75%, well over, had $1 billion plus in revenue. So these were definitely an enterprise customer base. We weren't necessarily targeting SMB here. And we focused on a few critical verticals. So we focused on verticals like financial services, retail, consumer product goods, life sciences, pharma, and universities and museums. So this is our core target. We really focused on these verticals, which kind of represents a nice broad swath of the market as well. And what's interesting is as we looked at these customers, as we surveyed these 150 people, the first thing that we found was that firms today are greatly investing in rich interactive content. So it's not just those 89% who are investing in content marketing in general. What we actually found is that 72% of our survey respondees said that their firm aims to use rich media specifically to support better content marketing, better customer experiences. So really focusing not just on any content, not just text-based content, but about 3 in 4 firms aim to use more rich media content. Again, this is your most interactive content. This is the content that's going to grab customers' attention the most. And what we found is that it's not just that they are aiming to use it better, but we actually found that firms are actually creating an incredible amount of rich media content. So only 2% of firms that we surveyed said that there is going to be a decrease in the amount of rich media content in the next 2 years. Only 11% said there's going to be no change. So there's a great amount of increase here in how we're thinking about rich media content. This means that about 87% of firms that we surveyed said that they expected the volume of rich media content that they were going to produce to increase in the next 2 years. 30% said they expected it to increase between 11 and 20%. And 16% of respondees expected their volume of rich media content to increase by more than 20%. So this is a rapid growth of how much content we're going to create, excuse me. And what's incredible about this is it's not just that the amount of content is rapidly growing, but it's how often we produce content. So of our survey respondees, 63% said that they're producing new rich media content daily or weekly. That means that they're creating at least on a weekly basis and sometimes on a daily basis, creating new images, new brand content and brand logos and graphics. They're creating new images to source and put on customer-facing sites, on customer-facing apps, and other digital customer experiences. There's an incredible amount of growth, and it's growth that's happening every day in many of these firms. So when we think about this market, it's clear that we're going to have this big influx of rich media content. We're already facing that, and clearly over the next 2 years and going into 2020 even, there's going to be a mountain and lots of content that's coming in. But the challenge today is that the technology that organizations use just hasn't caught up with this influx of rich media content. We asked what solutions are organizations using to really manage all of this rich media content, all of this interactive, very brand-centric content. And what we found is that most organizations are using point solutions. They're using other solutions that they may already have in place and putting together kind of a hodgepodge of different solutions. So many firms use web content management solutions. 37% say they still use SharePoint, so something that many of us may have an investment in. So just kind of using that as a place to park the assets in the short term. kind of shocking to me is that 31% of our respondees actually said they're still using file share or network drive or folders or FTP sites. This is a large amount. Almost 1 in 3 firms are still using kind of these ad hoc methods to manage their rich media content. We found is still there's a decent amount of uptake in DAM, with about 1 in 5 either using sort of a point brand asset management or digital asset management, and about 1 in 5 using a DAM solution specifically. So there are solutions out there, but many firms are using these kind of non-specific solutions that they may just kind of ad hoc store and park some of their assets. And it's not just that they're using these solutions, they're also using many solutions. So on average, the firms that we surveyed use 3 separate solutions to manage their rich media content. So it's very fragmented, and they're using a multiple hodgepodge, a kind of hodgepodge of different solutions. So as they use on average of 3, they're using lots of these non-specific solutions. I think this begs the question of what's wrong with managing all of this content in a lot of solutions and managing it in solutions that aren't digital asset management. Do you need a digital asset management? This is a question that I get a lot from Forrester customers. You know, if you already have SharePoint, why can't we use that? Why can't we just use file share or network drive? I think the main thing to consider is that any software can really manage content. You know, if you have a single piece of content, all of these solutions can provide a place to park that asset. So what really differentiates digital asset management? There's a couple things, and I would say first and foremost, it's that DAM is a central repository for that interactive content that many different users can access. So let's take web content management. Sure, web content management can have content on it. It can manage content. What differentiates a DAM from that type of solution is that the DAM can be a centralized place that anyone can access, not just your web users or your web marketing team or your web development team. Any marketer, any business user can access a DAM. It's also a centralized place so that it can go not just to web experiences, but it can go and manage content meant for mobile experiences, maybe social experiences, email, print, in-store. So DAM is really a centralized place to manage not just the content meant for one channel or for one type of user, but it's really a centralized place for multiple different types of content that multiple types of users can access. DAM is also different because it can integrate into many different solutions. So we'll talk about this a little bit later because this is critical for DAM in 2020. But DAM can then integrate into lots of different solutions to help fuel delivery. So if you're managing in the DAM an asset, you can actually integrate into a web system to deliver the asset to the web, an email system to deliver it to an email experience, and maybe even an in-store digital signage solution to deliver that experience in-store. DAM is also differentiated because it has more advanced support for search, metadata, and taxonomy. It can help manage rights associated with content. It can manage some content creation workflows and maybe even content production environments. It can support globalizing and localizing assets, so you can use this and deploy this across the globe. And it can support collections of content and compound documents. So DAM is really differentiated in that way. But because many organizations are using too many solutions and are using non-specific solutions, we've seen that a lot of organizations have had challenges. So today, there's this approach of multiple solutions and non-specific solutions has led to 4 main challenges. The first is that 1 in 4 firms we surveyed say there's no clear content ownership. So they don't know who owns the content and how to use that content. 60% of firms that we surveyed say that their users have difficulty finding rich media content. So consider the time to market and how much this is going to increase if you're sitting there trying to find assets. Instead, we could put this in a centralized place to make it much easier and increase the findability of assets. 32% of firms we surveyed said that their users don't know the rules around content reuse or retirement. This one always baffles me because if we don't know how to reuse the content, or we don't know when or how to retire the content, we have two problems. One is that it really can greatly affect our brand. So if we're using outdated content, it affects the way our customers perceive our brand. It could be inconsistent, or it could be an outdated experience that we're putting. The second is more of a legal issue. If we're using content that we're not supposed to use, this could lead to many challenges. So for example, one Forrester customer that we spoke with used an image in the wrong location. It was an image of a rock star. So because they used it in a place they weren't allowed to, this musician actually sued them. And so they got in a lot of legal trouble. We see this from many organizations. I once went to a conference where I saw a manufacturing customer say that they saved $3 million with their digital asset management solution. I know Jitin and I were talking before this webinar, and he can probably give you the exact number, but one of the assetSERV customers that we were talking about saved many millions of dollars just on this issue alone because they were able to put reuse right associated with the content. They weren't dealing with these lawsuits or you know, the challenges of using content that's expired and getting sued. So very big challenge for many organizations. And lastly, another main challenge is that 1 in 3 firms said that they don't have a defined content creation process. So they're still going and creating content ad hoc. So for example, one Forrester customer we spoke with, before they had a DAM solution, they were still calling up the creative professionals, and they were still sending emails or even walking to people's desks in order to approve content. Instead, DAM solutions can help streamline this. So DAM in 2020 will really help streamline all of these issues, and then also solve some of our issues beyond this as well. They're going to solve our challenges and do much more. What we see is that most firms by 2020, as they look to solve these issues, will have a DAM solution. We're seeing a lot of investment here, and a lot of our survey respondents agreed here. So you see only 4% so that they're not implementing and they're not interested in a DAM solution. Instead, what we've seen is that 15% are undergoing implementation now, 25% are currently planning to implement, and 25% may not have plans today, but are exploring options for DAM in the future. They're interested and they are learning more about it. So many firms are investing in this type of solution. Very, very few won't have it by 2020. And in 2020, we asked, what do you need of a DAM solution? So we asked our survey respondents what kind of capabilities would be most helpful looking forward, looking to that 2020 DAM solution. And what we found is, first and foremost, customers wanted a centralized repository. So 39, almost 40% wanted that centralized control of content. And kind of piggybacking on that, I expected that to bring some improved security. As we talked about, that can really help reduce your risk and your legal costs as well. So it's not just any old parking lot, though. I think a lot of us think that a centralized control of content means that we're just looking for a place, a parking lot for our assets, just a place to park it and forget about it. But really, DAM of 2020 isn't just going to provide that centralized control. It's not just any old content repository. It's really going to become an integrated part of a broader digital experience ecosystem. So it's really going to be not just that parking lot, but an integrated part of a broader technology ecosystem. So let's build that ecosystem out. What do we mean? What's this ecosystem going to look like? So we think about how we need to deliver digital customer experience. We need to start with our core services. Our core services are going to be our content, it's going to be our customer data, it's going to be your back-end marketing processes or marketing operations. So how are we budgeting? How are we planning our marketing campaigns? It's going to be our back-end commerce processes. So these are going to be things like how we're processing orders and how we're managing our product information. These types of services are going to integrate into what we're calling a contextual delivery platform. It's going to be a platform that delivers, that takes all of these services, takes the customer data, content, and in a smarter way delivers that experience to customers at every digital touch point, at any glass. And so the glass is any screen that a customer interacts with you as a firm on. So all of these touch points could include things like your website, of course, but your mobile site, maybe the Apple Watch is the next big thing. How are you going to interact on that screen, kiosk, digital signage, etc. So these solutions need to deliver contextual experiences across all of these touch points. And it's an ecosystem and it's a platform. It's really going to be fueled by analytics and insight, so we're not delivering static experiences. And it's a platform, so we can extend it and customize it as need be. So that you see is that content and digital asset management is a critical part of this. It's a core service of this broader architecture. What we see is that many customers see this as critical in 2020. So 1 in 3 customers want that DAM solution that's better integrated into other systems, into this ecosystem. So it's really going to be that DAM in 2020 is going to be a hub of content where delivery solutions, those contextual delivery solutions, can connect into. So these solutions can be anything from social, solutions that are managing your campaigns, your web content management, maybe even your commerce solution. So it's not just that it's going to be 2020, DAM will be the content hub, it'll also be smarter as well. So DAM in 2020 will also not just be that static place, maybe even an integrated static place, but it can also help you make better decisions about how to reuse assets. So if it's that centralized place, one of the main values of DAM that you want is that you want to also use that content better across channels. You want to get insight so you can make better decisions about how to reuse that content. So that means that we're going to 2020 link performance data back to the asset level. So that could include things like page views, social data, so how many views does it get on YouTube if you're looking at a video, for example. Does it impact conversion? What about A/B testing? Does this asset perform better than another asset? So you're going to want to reuse the higher performing asset. And maybe certain images perform better for certain segments. So DAM in 2020 will be a much smarter content hub. So we talked a little bit about DAM as a content repository and that hub. What about other areas? So we also found that there was another main area that DAM in 2020 will help with, and that's managing content processes. So about 1 in 3 firms we saw wanted DAM to help improve the internal collaboration and manage internal collaboration. 27%, about 1 in 4, so that they were looking for the DAM solution to help improve project management and workflow capabilities and help support more external collaboration, particularly managing the process between your creative agencies. And what we've seen is that DAM, as it goes and evolves into 2020, it's really not just going to support ad hoc tasks, but in 2020 it's going to manage and help support managing the workflow for the broader content lifecycle processes. So it'll help structure and streamline the process from when we decide to ideate and plan what this content is going to be like, what this campaign, where it'll be used, the approval, and then also how to optimize the use of that content. Again, it'll be a smarter hub for that content. So DAM will help streamline in 2020 these processes. The last main characteristic that we found our survey respondents were interested in 2020 was a cloud-based model. We found that DAM, beyond just the capabilities and the feature functionality, DAM in 2020 really needs to follow a new delivery model, one that's much more cloud-based. So a lot of vendors say, we're cloud. What does that actually mean, though? Because there's a lot of different flavors of cloud, and vendors use the word cloud very loosely and often very liberally. At Forrester, we believe there's three main flavors of the cloud. There's your infrastructure as a service. So DAM as an infrastructure as a service really just means you're managing just the infrastructure in the cloud. You still have a license price. You're still really responsible for the software. You still have to decide on an upgrade timeline, and you're managing the upgrade. Really, all that's managed in the cloud is your infrastructure. You're managing all the software and application yourself. The next flavor of cloud is a little bit more cloud-based. It's the platform as a service. So DAM platform as a service is when your vendor and you manage your application in the cloud. So both the infrastructure and the application. It's usually managed in a single tenant environment. So you can still do some customization. You can still do some integration, but you have the vendor helping you. The vendor is going to help you manage the software. They're going to help you manage the upgrade. And I know many of you, if you've had DAM solution in the past, the upgrades are often the most painful part. Lastly, the most cloud-based of all of these is software as a service. So this is really a true multi-tenant software as a service environment where your vendor is managing essentially everything. You can deploy it very quickly. You'll have a subscription-based pricing, and you're mostly configuring. You're not going to do a lot of customization. And deploying in the cloud, no matter what model you choose, really allows firms to share responsibility of your platform operations, of who's going to manage the DAM. So you can see that in infrastructure as a service, you're still mostly managing it alone, whereas all the way up to software as a service, you're really relying on the vendor and they're helping you really maintain and manage this solution. So what we say is that the survey respondents that we talked to really saw that this change, that you don't have to manage the solution all by yourself, really brought a lot of benefits. So we saw six or seven main benefits here. The first is that 41% saw that with cloud they'd have overall lower costs. So it's going to be a critical factor going into 2020, lowering costs and maintaining the costs so that you're not going over budget and can really spread resources to a variety of solutions. 31% said that they saw cloud-based solutions, cloud-based DAM solutions, would be better to support a lot of different users. This is really important if you're in a global organization, you have a lot of remote users, maybe you need users who can access your DAM solution on different devices. So cloud-based would be more conducive to that because you're not reliant on the performance coming from a single data center. 35% saw that the cloud solutions improve their agility. This is critical because with cloud-based, you don't have those long implementation cycles anymore. In 2020, we can't afford a year or two to wait for our DAM solution to get implemented. In 2020, we need a more faster way of working. We need upgrades to come, new features to come faster. So 35% saw that DAM in the cloud would help do that agility. 29% said that it's easier to maintain than traditional software. So this is because your vendor is helping you manage your upgrades and your timeline. So it's much easier, much less resource intensive. 41% said it's easier to share information and collaborate in the cloud. 25% said it helped support business innovations with some of these new capabilities. And 33% said that speed of implementation and deployment was critical. So what we see is that DAM in the cloud is really going to hit a turning point. So there are some challenges with cloud, particularly that the more cloud-based you get, it's more challenging to customize and integrate. But your cloud benefits go up. the more that you go into the cloud, the more SaaSable you get. So today, most organizations are looking to platform as a service. It's really the sweet spot, so you can still do some customization and integration, but still get cloud benefits. But in 2020, what we see is that more organizations will move to a SaaSable model. Because of SaaS solutions, we're seeing more vendors try and allow for more ability, particularly to integrate, because DAM in 2020 has to become part of that broader ecosystem. So integration will be critical. There are some legitimate challenges, though, with cloud. So our survey respondents particularly were concerned with security, risk, and compliance. So 61% said that this was a challenge and a concern as they moved to the cloud. The other main challenge we saw was the difficulty in customizing and integrating with other applications, with 37 and 33% of respondents, respectively, saying that they felt that was a main challenge. But when we asked deeper questions about this risk and security, what we actually found is that in 2020, we may be a little bit more open to risk for digital asset management solutions, because our digital asset management solutions are primarily housing our marketing and customer-facing content. What we found is that nearly 1 in 2 firms are actually okay to put marketing and customer-facing content in the cloud. If you think about it, there's not that much risk. This is content that's already going to customers. It's already customer-facing. It's public. So there's not as much risk or not as much security concern as if you were managing something like your legal documents or your mission-critical business plans. So we're seeing that this cloud-based model is going to get more acceptance coming into 2020. So we're just about out of time. So we've talked about a lot of things. We've talked about this increase in rich media content. What are some challenges today? And where will DAM be in 2020? What kind of features, functionality, and delivery models will we need from DAM in 2020? So what should we expect in 2020? What kind of benefits should we expect to see? So we asked our survey respondents this, and what we found is that 1 in 2 firms expected that with this modern 2020 DAM solution, they expected that a DAM would help improve their customer experience. So this is a great metric here because it's not just a tactical solution, but it's a solution that many of our respondents saw as moving the needle overall on their overall customer experience. 41% of firms expected that a DAM would improve their brand consistency and messaging. So it would put a better foot out into the market because they'll have more streamlined, consistent, and high-quality brand messaging going out. 41% also expected that this DAM in 2020 would improve their operational efficiency. So it would make and reduce their time to market, it would streamline those content lifecycle processes, and would make internal collaboration that much easier. And as part of that, over 1 in 3 expected that the DAM would additionally help improve content approval specifically. So help streamline this and get approvals through faster and in a more streamlined and structured way. So if we think about it, in 2020, DAM's ROI is just going to skyrocket and increase. And it will encompass all of those 3 main areas that we talked about. How to help improve our customer experience and our brand experience, how we can go to market more quickly and be more efficient, and lastly, how can we decrease our costs, especially those associated with legal and misuse of content. So with that, thank you for the time, and I'm going to pass it over to Jit, who can talk a little bit more about their point of view of DAM in 2020.
Thank you, Anjali. I appreciate it, and thank you very much for your session. I always learn a lot when I listen to your slides. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking the time. This report that Anjali is referencing will be available on the assetSERV.com website, so please do go ahead and get a copy of it for yourself. I want to talk a little bit about what Anjali had mentioned in terms of the rise of rich media content as the result of the evolution of what's happening in the marketplace, what's happening with our market space in general. And this goes back a little bit. 91, America Online comes up, and suddenly internet and digital become the craze. email really takes off. As a result of that, everybody's got the You've Got Mail waiting for them at home. Then you have Google and searching becoming very mainstream and important. Twitter and the various social media networks come on the scene. You've got Instagram and the ability to have pictures shoot around everywhere. And now, most recently, as we've all seen with the Fitbits and the Apple Watches of the world, wearables. And so the reality of all of that, as we look at 2020 and where we're going moving forward, it is really the rise of rich content, rich media. And that is why 90%, or nearly 90% of marketers are saying that their budgets are going up, because all of the advent of what's happening in the marketplace has resulted in this massive rise of rich media. And what that means for us as folks that are really in the business world driving success for our customers, for our businesses, is that this rise of rich media creates the need for a content hub. It's basically the fundamental phenomenon that's driving this media hub concept, or the content hub concept. And the need there is to have that single source of truth, that place where you can go to fuel your digital supply chain. Digital supply chain being the term that refers to the process by which you're able to take a campaign or a creative that may have come up with some of your folks in your marketing organization and work through that campaign with ad agencies and other folks in your marketing ecosystem, your vendors, to deliver to market a campaign designed to really drive home the value and make sure that your enterprise, your business, succeeds in this rapidly and very agile kind of marketplace that we're in. And so if you look at what that content hub is like, and what Anjali was talking about earlier in terms of the integration, you want that content hub to go out to Creative Clouds, go out to your SFDCs and your Salesforce.coms and other Salesforce automation tools. You want it to also go to social CRM. You want it to get out to Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn. You want to be able to push to your web content, so websites and all of your mobile apps. Perhaps you want to push it down to your enterprise system, so that enterprise systems that are running your business as a fundamental exercise are able to drive that value. You probably also want to use it for looking at multi-channel marketing. And most importantly, perhaps, you want to drive some analytics out of it so that you get a better understanding of how your digital supply chain is working. What are the inputs that you're providing, and what's the value you're getting back out? How many times did somebody click on that banner ad is a question you're asking yourself. And that is exactly the kind of thing that a content hub that can really help drive to make that happen. So let's give an example of a case study for one of the world's largest manufacturing firms in the automotive sector. And they've re-imaged or reimagined the marketing campaign digital supply chain. What would it look like? They're able to initiate and kickoff phase, where marketing teams will put the creative brief together with the ad agency or provide that to the ad agency, who will then create those assets and then upload them up. They'll then have a review and approval loop where the marketing team will go online, look at the assets, give them a thumbs up, thumbs down, give them tweaks, moving on to then the final assets, which then get published and distributed, which are available then in the retrieve and reuse by the sales and marketing folks, by other corporate users, by channel partners, downstream users, everybody that's part of that manufacturing ecosystem, from the point that that vehicle is produced to the point that it's sold in the dealership. All of those pieces have a digital supply chain, and they're able to manage that more successfully. And then to Anjali's point, 1/3 of customers are not sure how to retire those assets, and so therefore retiring and archiving them, making them available in the future, is also a critical part of that overall marketing supply chain. So this is an example of the kind of transformation, digital transformation, that's happening with DAM now and will increasingly be the case in 2020. Because again, the objective of this is how do you and where do we see DAM going in 2020? And so this kind of transformation is very symbolic of what's going to be happening moving forward. Let's talk also about what's going to happen with rich media and what that means for customers. As we can see, the advent of rich media is going to increase the revenues. It's going to drive up the ability for sales. Rich, compelling content is a critical component in the purchasing decision today. If you think about it, if you went to Amazon or some of the other e-commerce sites that are out there, you're much more likely to buy something that you can see a picture of. In fact, you're much more likely to buy something you can see multiple pictures of in multiple angles. And you're even more likely to buy something that you might be able to see a video of or a quick demo of. And that really is why it increases revenue with rich media. And if you look at the cost reduction that's involved in rich media, where you have a central content hub that helps you manage that, a DAM repository, the reduced reduction in risk, Anjali had mentioned, and we have a number of clients where they've avoided risk and cost associated with managing their assets as a result of having a central repository. They now don't have to worry about leak of a sensitive IP because they know where it is, it's locked down, it's only available to a handful. And then finally, increased productivity. If you look at the ability to move quickly, it's a function of getting what you need, when you need it, where you need it, and how you need it. You can't do all of that if you don't know where to go, right? Anjali had said 31% of customers, enterprise, Fortune 1000 customers, are still using a FTP site or some sort of file network share to store assets. That would be a challenge, to say the least. So we wanted to give a case study of what is happening with rich media and how rich media is really driving usage. So we thought, why not use our example? Why not use what's happened as a trend line over the last 5 years in assetSERV in our platform. assetSERV is not just a platform, it's package services for those that have existing DAM platforms that want to use them better, or consulting services that have platforms and they're really trying to leverage the most out of those platforms moving forward. How can I take my DAM to the next level? That's what our consulting services does. And the assetSERV platform obviously is cloud-based. We do have hybrid and other on-prem solutions, but cloud is 90% of our business and offers obviously the full range. But if you take a look at the 500,000 users or the 12 million plus assets or the 60 plus countries or the 4 to 8 week implementation times, by the way, Anjali is absolutely right. We've seen that implementation time window go from 4 to 6 months to 4 to 8 weeks as a result of our ability to go to market quickly with our clients. And then finally, the number of clients. But more interesting and indicative of where rich media is, the prevalence of rich media now, if you look at where rich media was just 4 or 5 years ago, it was between 5 and 10% of the total repository. And today, it's in excess of 30%, and it represents millions and millions, I believe 3.8 million assets in our repository. And by rich media, we're being even a little bit more restrictive in the sense that we're talking about things that are video, audio, and everything in between, HTML5 assets, et cetera. And so at the end of the day, this is an indication of the kind of transition the enterprises are having to that rich media, to the ability to leverage that content. I was just at another client site the other day, and they have a repository, a library that they retain a lot of their assets in, and they want to include typical print assets, media assets. They want to include podcasts and video and all of these other rich media assets that the current repository just is not built to handle. It cannot do that, and so they're migrating to assetSERV in order to really take advantage of that rich media and the ability to leverage that rich media in the market space. I mean, just think about it right now. If you fly at all and you've seen the new videos that are available in the airlines, they're certainly much more entertaining than anything I've ever seen so far, and as a result, get my interest. There's actually a few where I watch just because I like the humor in them. And that is an example of how our other clients in the business world are really taking advantage of this revolution of rich media to make their content, their business, more compelling, more successful. And that's what we're all trying to do, right? We're fighting in the marketplace to succeed. Now, if you think about what matters the most about the digital experience and how we power it, it's the ability to use that single source of truth, that single repository, to drive that rich media into multiple reuses, whether it's omni-channel, whether you're publishing, whether you're doing marketing. The key ROI factor is reuse. And if you're able to drive that reuse, your ROI goes through the roof. Anjali was talking about some of the benefits of the ROI of cloud. I'll talk about that as well. But that's the critical component, is how easily can you drive that reuse. And when you do that, you're going to decrease your time to market. You're not going to spend as much time with the ad agencies creating multiple versions of the same asset. One of our clients was able to see a 30% decrease in time to market or efficiency with their ad agencies, and as they took a global asset and they localized it for every region, every geography, the language, the talent was much easier to localize with the global distribution using assetSERV rather than the old model where the agencies would hand off, or fundamentally the agencies would recreate in the interest of driving their revenue. Again, not surprising. In addition, if you're moving that quickly and you're driving that needle forward for your business, you're going to look at new innovations. If your team is able to be more efficient, more successful, and agile, then they're going to think about, hey, what else can I do? How can I push that needle forward? How can I move the business forward? How can I have that Oreo dunk in the dark Super Bowl moment, right? How can I have that kind of advantage in the marketplace? How do I avoid a Poland Springs type market space in situation? And for those that don't know, it was a Poland Springs speech where Marco Rubio took a drink of Poland Springs on national television that was widely watched, and a week later they posted something. As opposed to Oreos, the Super Bowl, the lights, power went out, and Oreo tweeted, "You can dunk in the dark." So how can you drive innovation in that market space for your business? Which then ultimately why we're all here, accelerating the sales cycle, right? Driving that sales cycle forward for our businesses, and that's exactly what this is all about. But we have to do more with less in this day and age, as we all do. And so we really have to think about what's the benefit to the business, what's in it for me? How can I get the maximum bang for the buck? Our experience being an enterprise-grade, digitally powered dam that's on the cloud is that customers are able to access the system anywhere, anytime. Not just the users that are in the enterprise, and Anjali made a point of noting this, but also all of the partners that are outside of our enterprise, all the ad agencies, the creatives, the photographers, the copywriters, all of the content contributors, the people outside of our geography perhaps, all of those people that are part of our overall digital supply chain that the enterprise is not going to give a network access to because we're not sure how often that ad agency person is going to turn over, which reduces cost of ownership, gives you obviously seamless scale, capability and scalability. Being cloud-based, we can be as big as you'd like. Obviously, there's security as a concern and ensuring you have a highly performing environment. And then you can reduce your dependency on IT. Oftentimes, we're hearing from customers that their speed to market or time to market is gated by IT's ability to help them deliver. With a cloud-based solution, you don't have some of those restraints and constrictions. And then perhaps most importantly is ensuring that an easy-to-use system has high adoption in usage, as well as improving the brand governance as a result of that usage, right? That's critical for our customers. So one of the things that we wanted to share was an ROI study from one of our customers at the CPG firm. And if you look at the four qualitative things that they shared with us, that the search increased reuse and it led to significant cost reductions. They were able to see that their global brand managers and their regional brand managers were able to take advantage of what the global brand managers were doing more successfully, reducing their costs. That's a qualitative followed by a quantitative. The user-friendly and device-agnostic interface helps the user adoption. So having a clean, easy-to-use UI that is RWD, responsive web design, that it goes the same across multiple form factors, makes it easy for somebody to use it on a tablet, use it on their computer, use it on whatever device that is convenient for them, which again then increases utilization, which is the holy grail. It's what you really want. And this is not the field of dreams. If you build it, they will not come unless you do this. If you look at the collaboration that such a platform provides for these customers and the ability to share the assets that they're working on in a campaign and various people in the campaign and parts of the campaign, because campaigns are obviously comprised of lots of different elements driven by specialists in their respective fields. All of that collaboration and sharing has resulted in improved time to market. They're able to get out there faster because everybody knows where everybody is. In fact, we had a customer who had multiple folks involved in one stream of a multi-stream campaign, and the ability to just know what one creative is doing, one artist is doing, one talent is doing in one part of that stream, for the others that are working on it, that alone was worth the effort of the investment. And then finally, being able to streamline the processes in a way that you have a central repository increases the integrity of the assets. In other words, you know which one is the final, which is the gold master. It increases the integrity of the data. You know more about your assets and how you can use them and which ones can be used where. That's going back to the digital rights management that Anjali was talking about, so that you know you're using what you're using, where you're using it, when you're using it, and you're authorized to do so. You're not incurring millions of dollars of extra fees. One of our clients was licensing assets worldwide 4 times across the globe, which, again, doesn't make sense. And then you're ensuring your governance, that your assets have the same look and feel, resulting in 1,800 users, 600,000 assets for this customer, a process time or cycle time reduction from 20 hours to 2 hours for several of their processes, $1.7 million in dollar benefits, and about a little under 200% ROI in terms of their investment in to generate that kind of savings, the 1.7 million. So if you think about the business benefits, it's really about increased productivity, increasing your collaboration, empowering everybody in your organization to get what they need when they need it. You don't have to run to Susie in marketing or Jennifer in creative or Bill in production. You have everything there for everybody, which reduces your risk and obviously increases your reuse and increases your revenue and reduces your costs associated with the same. So one of the questions you may be asking yourself is, great, so I understand, I see the value, but as Anjali had pointed out, there's what 25% are looking at a dam, 25% are thinking about a dam, so 50% of people are in some form of evaluation thinking about what do I do? And so therefore, for that 50% of customers, we offer the ability to look at your maturity. How mature is your organization to use a dam? Where are you on the scale? And in order to do that, we have a model that we've put together where organizations are based on their dam strategy and their dam capability. Those are the 2 axes that we look at. And in particular, we're looking at how are you doing as an organization that is from a nascent organization that's maybe looking at, doesn't have a dam or is really looking to adopt, versus those that have gone emerging, that they've got a silo dam solution, as Anjali had discussed, versus those that are operational and optimal. And of course, the goal, all of our goals, and the reason for DAM 2020 is to think about how all of our organizations can be in that 4th quadrant, in the optimal quadrant by 2020. Because all of us want our organization to reap those benefits, and we're going to get those benefits when we're in that optimal quadrant. It's not to say that there isn't benefit along the journey. There is. But the maximum bang for the buck comes from reaching that optimal quadrant. And so being able to help an organization get there, we absolutely are part of that process and part of that journey for our customers. And that is exactly why this DAM 2020 journey is so important. We believe that in the next 5 years, the majority of our customers are going to reap the nearly 200% ROI for their DAM journey as a result of focusing on that and excelling on it and succeeding in it and achieving that result in 2020. So I would strongly encourage everyone to take a moment and get an assessment, which is available on our website. In addition, this report from Forrester is also available on the website, and you're more than welcome to take it, grab it, use it to help make your business case, help educate your organization on the business benefits of the DAM products within their enterprise, the value to the enterprise of looking at DAM and thinking about where DAM needs to be in your enterprise in 2020. How can you, in the next 4 or 5 years, really leverage the success and the changes in the marketplace, the digital transformations that are happening, the rise of rich media, to strike that balance, that value proposition to get that kind of ROI for your organization? I turn it back to you, Sandeep.
Thank you, Jit, and thank you, Anjali. So we've received a few questions from our audience, and our first question is, what do you see in terms of percentage implementing departmental versus enterprise, and is the preference more for cloud or on-premise? This is a question from John Price, and Anjali, if I may request you to respond to this one.
Sure. I would say that we still see more interest in the departmental, but I would say in 2020, I think we're going to see more interest in the DAM that's more enterprise. And that's because of the need for the more integrated ecosystem, so the more integrated digital experience technology ecosystem. So I think we'll start to see that change in the next couple years moving into 2020. I would say that there's almost, every call that we take today is going, all about being cloud-based. And so again, that doesn't mean everyone wants SaaS, but it may mean a different flavor of cloud. I would say, the industries that typically we talk to who are maybe those who are a little bit more risk averse to cloud in general, they might be slow. But again, I think in the 6 years I've been at Forrester, it went from no one really caring about a cloud-based DAM solution to it becoming more and more of a requirement. And I think in 2020 it'll be kind of the norm.
Thank you, Anjali. And if I may ask you to respond to the next one as well. How does DAM integrate with marketing tools like marketing automation platforms, Pardot, Eloqua, Marketo, CMO systems, such as Salesforce, website tools like WordPress? There are so many systems to manage. There's a question from Lindsay.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way what we're seeing today is that maybe there's one or two key integration points so that a DAM solution kind of pushes content into those systems, and those systems handle the delivery. I think what we'll see in 2020 is we'll see a more two-way integration so that it's not just that you can push content from the DAM into those delivery systems, but you can also inherit with it things like rights and you can actually use the interface to browse or search those assets that may live in the DAM. And then it's a two-way integration, so you can also push content back into the DAM once it needs to be archived or expired. So I think we'll see that more in 2020. Is a solution ever going to integrate with every single delivery CMO solution? Probably not. I would say that's just because we have so many marketing technology. I think a lot of us on the phone maybe have seen that picture that the chief marketing technologist blog puts out of all the different marketing technologies worth thousands and thousands. There's just so many out there. So what we typically counsel our customers is what are the key platforms, the key delivery platforms. Does it need to integrate with every point solution that a CMO owns? No, probably not. But what are the key platforms? Those are typically your, you mentioned Salesforce, so something like an email, social kind of campaign type solutions, like what someone like Salesforce offers. Those types of solutions. It's your web solutions and your commerce-driven solutions. I would say those are maybe the three core integration points. And then, of course, every organization has something that's specific to them as well.
Thank you, Anjali. Jit, I request you to respond to this one. With the cloud benefits, are these aligned to your SaaS or PaaS approach? This is from Nick Kurzman.
Sure, that's a good question, Nick. So the short answer to your question is you get a scalable level of value or benefit. As Anjali's slide had pointed out, when you're looking at a PaaS or a platform as a solution, there is still a level of involvement of the enterprise, of the business in that solution development and delivery for the business. So as a result, there is value, but it's fractionally less than what you would get with a pure SaaS solution, where there's a much less involvement and a very low level of effort that the enterprise spends, and so you frankly get more bang for the buck. There are some challenges with that, which is how do you ensure in a more SaaS-oriented solution that you have the integrations that Anjali just spoke of, whether it's to a marketing or a Salesforce automation system or to a web content management system or any or all of the above. But at the end of the day, our platform clearly has that in mind, and it's the cornerstone of what we do. And so as a result, we've built a lot of those out-of-the-box connections into those integrations so they're easily enabled. So that's the short answer. A platform as a solution or a PaaS offering will have value benefits for the enterprise, but it'll be less than what a pure SaaS solution would have.
Thank you, Jit. Our next question is from Kazuo Ohashi. And Jit, if I request you to take this one as well. Do you think DAM solutions are relevant to small businesses?
Absolutely. I actually think that small businesses have more to benefit from than they might expect. And as a result, they can use the DAM platform or a DAM platform to help them really level the playing field against some of their larger competitors. They can get more efficiency, they can move faster than even the large enterprises in taking advantage of a dam. So the ROI I've seen from departments and divisions of some of our larger customers, which are akin to some small companies in the marketplace, absolutely, they can benefit from it.
All right, thank you, Jit. Unfortunately, we're at the top of the hour. Though there are many other questions from the audience. I request you to get in touch with Jit, whose contacts you will see on the screen shortly. I would like to thank our audience for making this an interactive webinar. Once again, please visit our website to download a free copy of the DAM 2020 research paper. With that, I would like to conclude today's webinar. Thank you again and have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you, Jitin and Anjali.